Hello, everybody. It is Terlisa Gardley-Brown, your host of Real Talk with Terlisa, the real that you guys can feel. And tonight we have a grown folks conversation about love, lust, and lies. I have my big brother coming on to talk about things from the male perspective so we all can get an understanding. Because let me tell you guys, this love, lust, and lies thing is deep. And so many times we discount a lot of what's going on. Hey, Sharika, we discount a lot of what people go through and what's going on, and we be going through the same old stuff. So as soon as my brother come on, I'm going to bring him on, and then we're going to get this thing moving. But with love, lust, and lies, I'm finding that this thing with lust will have us in a position where we want something and we know it's bad for us. A lot of times people think about lust and they only think about lust from a sexual aspect, but we don't think about lust for other things that we know we should not be doing. So tonight we're going to uncover a lot of that material as soon as he come on. So if you have not done so, definitely share, invite your friends as we get into this grown folks conversation tonight. And guys, I really appreciate everyone who has been sending me topics, because some of the topics that have been coming through, man, it's gonna get real heated on Real Talk with Terlisa, and I have to pray that I stay in line with the topics, but also stay in line with what God is telling me. Hey, Miss Darlene, thank you for joining me. So I'm waiting on Brother Nathaniel to come in. So again, my name is Terlisa Gardley-Brown. I'm the host of Real Talk with Terlisa, the real that you can feel. If you haven't done so, definitely check out Real Talk with Terlisa TV show. It is on the TLE network, and you can live stream by going to tletv.fun. And I have a show that come on every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8:30, and we talk about basically everything from more from a Christian standpoint, because it's a Christian network. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm waiting on Brother Nathaniel to come in. With this whole ideal of lust, love, and lies, lust is so deceiving. Lust will make you feel like you are in love, and the whole time you are being lied to. Most of us have been in a relationship, or we've been in something, and we felt like it was love. It was the way they touched us. It was the way they talked to us. It was the way they kissed us. It was the way they made love to us. We felt something intimate from a touch or a feeling. Hey, Miss Valencia, we felt something from them that made us feel this way. Now, how many of us, and see, I'm going to let it out tonight because I ain't ashamed. How many of us have been in positions, in relationships, where we were loving someone, but they was lusting for us, and we didn't realize that they did not share the same feelings that we had. We didn't realize that they weren't coming from the same place. So we thinking all of this love and affection that we're receiving from them is coming from a genuine place, when in actuality we're just one on their hip, and vice versa. There's a lot of women out here too that can be with men and sex them and leave them. I used to be like that. So you don't have that entanglement, and in the same being, you have somebody that feel like because of the way you provided a service or the way you got down with them, they feel like you love them. So now we have a society filled of broken people who are trying to figure out which way do they go. Now here's the deal. When we talk about lust, lust is so powerful. Lust is not only deceitful and it is powerful, but it would allow us to put ourselves in some emotional compromising positions that we will not be able to get out of. We will put ourselves in, I don't know about you, but I know some people that have been in lustful positions and they walked away from their marriages. I know people that have been in lustful positions and they walked away from something that they thought it was, and then after dibbling and dabbling and finding out that it wasn't happening, they tried to come back to the person that they were with. So we always want to be like, oh, it's just lust. Lust is powerful, and by no means can we discredit that. Lust will also start, it was one of those things where it caters to your needs. So lust has the ability of picking up on what you're not getting. So if you're at home with your spouse and your spouse may not be loving you a certain way, or you find yourself in a position, you'll find that lust will open the doors to you, and it's so good. So lust is going to be designed, it's tailor-made just for what you want. Lust is going to come to you smelling good, looking good. everything that you are looking for is what it's going to be. It's going to be attentive to all of your needs. It's going to make you feel like you're important. It's going to stroke your ego. It's going to build you up. It is going to give you a false sense of hope. So not only is lust one of those things that give us a false sense of hope, but how many do you know, you ain't got to say nothing, but how many of us know people that have given up things thinking that they had something better? As we talk about the grass being greener on the other side, only to find out that the grass was not green, it was foul, and it wasn't just you. So when we talk about the attributes of lust, lust is greedy. Lust wants all that you have. Lust is one of those things that no matter how much you give, it wants more. But lust does not always give back. Lust has a way of getting all of your goods, but when it's time for you to receive, it shuts the door on you. Lust makes you feel a certain type of way. It's nothing like being in a love and a lust relationship, and the person that you're loving and lusting with does not reciprocate the same type of feelings that you have. So you thought when they said that they loved you because y'all was in bed and it was lust, you believed them, and then you started building your future up on something that'll never come through. So how is it that we find ourselves craving, desiring, wanting something that we know is no good for us? How do we find ourselves in these positions where you one more time? Okay, if I just do this one more time, then I'll be satisfied. If I just do this one more time, if you just let this call just go through and I just get with this person, or I do this particular act just this one more time, then I will be satisfied. But see, we don't talk about it from this aspect. We always be like, well, you know, they just lustful. No, lust is a serious deal. And not only is it a serious deal, and we talking about never enough, but have you always ever dealt with a person, not just in a relationship, but all they wanted to do was take. All they wanted was what you had, and they never gave you anything back. They took everything that you had and gave you deuces, and you standing there like, man, you're not going to even say goodbye to me. You're not going to even show me any love. You're not going to show me any attention. So here it is again. We face with lust in so many different aspects of our life. Have you lusted for something other than a relationship? So let me ask you guys that are on here, what is it that you may know of? Not necessarily you, because you know a lot of us, we work in progress, but how many of us can honestly say that we lusted after something we had no business wanting or desiring? How many of us can say that? Honestly say, you know what? I'm lusting for this or I'm lusting for that. And I'm bringing my brother on now so we can start talking about this perspective as well. So everybody hold on. Brother Nathaniel is coming on as we speak. He's at it. Bro, you in your car too?
Yeah. It wasn't intentional. I had to give a friend a jump, so I ran into a little clash of time. But
mine is intentional. I had to get in the car to talk about this one because, you know, I'm just going to be honest with you. But I was just saying how when we talk about lust, and lust is greedy. It is always something that wants. No matter how much you give to lust, lust wants more. And it leaves you feeling empty. It leaves you feeling unsatisfied. It leaves you feeling like, man, I can't believe that this person did this to me. So when we talk about lust, and a lot of people are like, well, lust and love, or what is the difference of lust and love, like from a male perspective?
It's exactly like you stated. Lust is really a spirit. It's like it's absolutely never satisfiable. It's like it's like an inferno. It's going to burn everything around it. And love, we can go to 1 Corinthians for that, and it gives you a total explanation and definition of what the biblical just the natural standpoint of what love is. God exemplifies that through that passage. And I had a friend that explained to me at one time, it's like, if you take that passage of scripture, 1 Corinthians 13, and you replace like a person's name with the word love, and you read that passage, it takes on a whole new definition, and it gives you a clearer idea of what you should be expecting as far as treatment from a person that professes love.
Wow. Now that's some divine insight, because I know for me that I was in a relationship, and I thought it was love. I mean, I knew it was lust when it first started because it was sexual, you know. So it was all sexual in the beginning, but feelings started to turn. And I was mentioning how in the heat of the moment, there are a lot of words that are said. There are a lot of things that are said that are really not meant. So you thinking because a person is in a moment, whatever moment it is, and they tell you that they love you, and you start to hold on to whatever those feelings are, and you later find out that was just a word that was spoken because of the moment that you were in, it makes you feel so crazy and you feel so stupid in a sense. And that's something else that I found in my own experience that lust does. Lust uses you. It plays you. It plays on your emotions. It plays on your good parts. It tries to bring you down. It's like so many different things that are tied up into it. But yet and still, when we talk about it, we kind of want to hush it up. We kind of want to, one of those things we just want to push under the rug. And we can't do that anymore because so many people are being broken by lust. And they're being broken by what they think is love, but it's really lust.
Correct. I understand totally, and this is why I mean, you know where I come from when I speak on it. I have a scripture from the passage of John, and this will give you an explanation as to why that happens. And you heard of soul ties and how
Mm-hmm.
they're formed, and this is why. Now, John 6:63, it says, "It is the Spirit who gives life; the flesh
Mm-hmm.
profits nothing. The
Mm-hmm.
words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, they are life."
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit and listen to the words of somebody and they entertain you with these things, what you don't realize is that you're accepting it in that moment because,
Mm-hmm.
like you say, they want to believe. Everybody want to be loved. They want to believe that feeling.
Yeah.
We attach too much to feeling, and if you ever
Mm-hmm.
just like stuck, just like I was exemplifying with that passage from Corinthians, if you literally put somebody's name there, try it. Once I did it, it opened up a different perspective that you're like, wow, it's clear. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if you're not receiving these things from a person, and it also tells you, Bible tell you, test all spirits to see whether they are God. People are great
Right.
pretenders, and the devil is just that's he's subtle. That's just
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to be in the red horns and all of that stuff. I'm come exactly
That's
how you
it.
like. So if I can get your attention long enough to entertain the words which are spirits to permeate your thoughts, then I'm in. And that's all he
Exactly.
needs is an in. The devil can't. You got to let him in.
Amen. 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 When I was thinking about the lust too, and you talk about everybody wants to be loved, and what you mentioned is right. I kind of said it earlier about how lust comes tailor made to whatever you're needing, or lust comes
Exactly.
tailor made to whatever it is you feel that is important to you. So it comes in every type of form, and how lust caters to whatever it is that you are in need of at that moment, and it's very detail oriented. So whereas, hey mama, so whereas we find ourselves where you may not be receiving attention, or you find yourself in a battle and you like, you know what, I just really want someone to talk to. And if you're not careful, those words end up opening doors to somebody to talk to. And because we are needing that level of attention or wanting that level of attention, we open ourselves up to something or someone who is really infiltrating the truth. So they're going to infiltrate. And I'll give you an example. I remember when I was going through this whole thing with being single. And
Mm-hmm.
God told me to be still, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be still, but I'm still gonna date. So I knew, like, looking at certain people, like, no, that ain't for me. I ain't finna mess with that. No, sir, I ain't messing with that. However, what he ended up doing was bringing someone familiar to me. And because I knew this person and they were familiar to me, I ended up spending time with them and getting attached, when the whole time God told me that this is not the person that I need to be with, nor should I be talking to. But because there was a need for a companion, or there was a need to be in a relationship, I ended up attaching myself to him. Now I'm going to tell you this, on the spiritual side, just like God has a plan for us, it's the enemy's job to destroy that plan. So
God knew where I was going, but the enemy knew how to stop me. So he knew that if I can put a man in her path and give her what she needs or what she wants, she's going to be distracted. And lust almost killed me. So when I started to open my eyes and to see it for what it was, I was like, I can't go down this route. But even though lust hurt me, even though lust cheated on me, even though lust did a lot of things to me, I still found myself craving it because I had not been delivered from it. So we go through different relationships and different things, and we trying to understand, why am I soul ties to? Why am I still wanting something or someone when I know they're no good for me, but I still want it? I just want to play with it. And then as we play with it, he knows how much you're gonna need to get you hooked, and we right back in this cycle again.
Right. And then see, that's a common story, because if by nature, we're designed to love. Love is like we weren't supposed to be enduring any of the negative feelings or emotions that are attached to some of these situations that, like you're saying, and they come about due to what I've discovered to be is, and it may not seem like it has a direct connection in the surface, on the surface level, but it all boils down to self-forgiveness. And and
Yes.
and this is why I say that, because throughout the childhood, throughout life, and I'm speaking from experience and things I've had to research and climbing out of that hole of depression and anxiety and the things that I had to find out where was the source of that. And
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time, when you get those situations, and I'm gonna speak from a male perspective to women, I'm gonna give you the father-daughter talk, like like I did with my daughter. I
Mm-hmm.
raised my daughter to understand her non-sexual value. And
Mm-hmm.
see, and the problem now is that's everything that's being exemplified for these younger ladies now. Even from childhood and coming up, everybody's had that promiscuous auntie or somebody whose advice to you for a relationship
Mm-hmm.
is, something that shouldn't be passed along at that particular age and time. And it's coming from a mindset of somebody that is 99% of the time been broken by a man who's
Right.
broken, because
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't never been taught anything other than what from his past, from the same experiences as like the girl, like somebody who had no clue as to what love was or what it
Right.
was supposed to be. It's like a broken machine that just keeps reproducing and reproducing broken parts, because
Mm-hmm.
nobody took the time to heal. And why I say that is, like, you see people that go from one relationship to another. I've heard women actually say, "Oh, the best way to get over a man is get under another one."
Get
Same
under
thing for
another one.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for guys. But what you not realizing by doing so, you're not addressing whatever hurt or trauma that you went through at that time. And that essentially is like, if I was a NBA basketball player and I injured myself, you'll see those games where sometimes, I can wrap it up and be back on the court tomorrow. But some of those injuries, you got to sit a season out. And
Right.
nobody wants to sit that season out. Everybody wants to jump right back in. But what you're doing when you do that is you're deepening that wound. You're making it worse. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why they keep going, and you keep identifying with those same drawing tactics that drew you in the first time. And
Right.
majority of those come from your own mouth, because a
Mm-hmm.
guy's going to manipulate what you expose. And especially like in the situation of a relationship, when somebody knows that you're the male or woman have a significant other, if they can get you to entertain the conversation, that's why I told you about that passage, John. Words of spirit,
Mm-hmm.
words of spirit. And if I know that particular area that you're deficient or that you're hurting in, I can manipulate it, because,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I'm going to say what you want to hear. They're going to do
Exactly.
what you want to do, and they're going to learn all of that from you, because most of those conversations start off with the okay, you remember like on that joke Eddie Murphy used to tell Dexter St. Jock, like, hey, what's the
Yes.
beautiful like
Yes.
you doing on the island all by
Right.
yourself?
Right.
Oh
Woo!
my God! So you go into
Yes.
that, and women do it too. I said this is it's
Yes.
all encompassing. There's no bias here, but women do it too. But after I present that calming ear or that voice or that shoulder to talk to, you're going to feed all of the information necessary to get yourself manipulated, because you're going to start laying out all the complaints, and guess what they're going to do? The opposite.
Come on now.
So now once
Come on now.
you start seeing the opposite, it's easy for them to manipulate you, because this individual is going to also be dealt with in short time spans.
Right.
So you will never get a chance to really, really get a feel of them. So it's easy to pretend in short for short periods of time. But once
Mm-hmm.
you start to, and that's usually what happens. So they lull you out. You get into a situation. You find out and discover this wasn't what you thought it was. And now by
Mm-hmm.
this time, you way out in the middle of the ocean. Trying
Right.
to find your way back.
That is so true. We have a comment. That's the cycle. Lust will take you around in circles. Yeah, lust will take you around in circles and it'll break you down every time. So many of us are still healing from a lot of the insecurities because we ended up giving our best to someone did not want the best for us. So we find ourselves in messed up and miserable situations. We looking at ourselves because lust will have you settling for a piece of instead of waiting for the whole thing. So just because it's just like when you go out to dinner and you have an appetizer, you already may have looked at the menu and you know that when you go in there what your main dish is. But now you
Mm-hmm.
see the appetizers and now you're like, man, so now you've gotten full off of that and you haven't had an opportunity to come for what it is you were waiting on. And something else that lust does is it rushes you. Lust always wants you to make a decision right now. Lust always wants you to do something instantaneously. It's like one of those things where it's almost peer pressure from the person that you're dealing with. So it's one day it's like, well, I need you to do this. I need you to do this right now. I remember being in a situation with someone and I wanted to kind of take things slow. But what they wanted to do was take things fast. And like you were saying, they were on a time clock, whereas I didn't. But I find that as women, sometimes because we are looking at our age, because we are looking at different things about ourselves, and we
Yes.
are healing from our own insecurities, our own problems, from the things that were told to us, when someone does show us attention in a way that we like, we automatically feel that they are interested in us. And that's something I have been praying for. And I thank God I got it, was a spirit of discernment, because you get tired of being made a fool out of. You get tired of somebody taking advantage of your kindness. And it's almost like we did it to ourselves because we gave too much too soon, or we did too much too soon. There's something that a lot of women, and this isn't like a girl conversation, and men might have this too. So women may
Mm-hmm.
say, well, how long should you wait before you decide to have sex? How long should you wait before you do these things? And we always want to put a timetable on it, but we never want to invite God into it. And what I was finding is, because, okay, well, I'm gonna wait 2 weeks. What difference does it make? Or I'm gonna wait a
Right.
month. What difference does it make? But when you start asking God to show me so I won't get my head bumped again, show me so I won't be used again, show me so I won't allow myself to be vulnerable again, then you can start seeing a difference in those that just really want to sleep with you, take you out, pay a bill, and those that want to be around you and spend some time with you.
Correct. Like I said again, test our spirits. And there's something you said there that stood out to me. And this is what people need to understand about this. And back to what I was saying about forgiving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Usually after somebody finds themselves in a situation where they're duped,
Mm-hmm.
shame comes in, guilt comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're retreating. You're feeling bad about getting duped. So now
Yep.
the devil has you there. And like I explained to you before, I told him, like, guilt and shame are the devil's handcuffs. That's what he uses to keep you bound to that thing. So you will rather try to work around it rather than to just forgive yourself and just admit that, man, I was dumb at that moment. That particular moment, I don't know where my brain. I got duped. So
Right.
if until you can get past that, that's why
Mm-hmm.
you'll get on a personal challenge with yourself to be like, oh no, maybe I just didn't do something right. You start trying to make adjustments to a
Yes. Yes.
situation that was never going to be, that was never going to be in the first place. And I
Yes.
had a friend of mine to
Yes.
tell me, and that kind of situation is like trying to, for a better excuse my verbiage here, but it's like trying to pick up a turd from the clean end. It's
Right.
like that. Anywhere you
Either
touch
way
that,
it go.
yeah,
Right.
ain't no way to touch it and be right.
Either way
So,
it go.
and that's how you remain stuck there, because who wants to tell somebody, man, I got played. You know,
Right.
especially if it's something that comes, because I'll tell you, and this is why it's so strong. Because out the gate, oh man, it's Prince Charming, it's the Queen. You know, it's
Yes. Yes.
everything you go. So now he got you giddy, you happy, you telling your friends
Mhm.
about it. He's putting in the time, she's putting in the time. They're doing everything right, and now you're really feeling like this is the person that, man, this might be the one that he's not really know.
Right.
He is something to him, but you're not stopping and thinking that everything that he is doing is mirroring what I've already told him in previous conversations, that out of anger or emotion that you were having with them, you are not paying attention to what you were revealing. And at the same time, they're taking notes. So I explained this to a young lady before. I said, let me explain something to you. I said, be careful about your conversations, especially around people that, you know, that, like, look, I'm going to use a work scenario, for instance.
Mhm.
Had a young lady at work talking with girls, you know, they having the girl talks at the table, and, you know, and they'll see a guy come past, and, you know, say I'm sitting at the lunchroom table and another coworker walks past. I'm interested in this particular lady. The coworker walks past and she asks him, "Oh wow, what's that cologne you got on? That smells good." And he tell her,
Mhm.
"I logged that."
Right.
So guess what I'm gonna smell like next time I come
That
past you?
cologne. Come on
You know
now.
what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's all fishing.
Yes.
It's bait and hook, and you got to be careful about the conversations, just openly around people, because for that very reason. Because trust me, this is how the male psyche works. I explain to my daughter and everybody. First and foremost, ladies, no man is approaching you with the intention of being your friend. If you did not grow up with this person or childhood or something like that, you can establish a friendship early like that. But no man in the grocery store, nobody thought about, you know what, she looked like I want to be her friend. You know, that's never. You're attracted. They're attracted to you instantly. Now, what comes
Yeah.
behind that from a male perspective is going to be one of two things. I'm going to listen to how you talk in your conversation. If I'm a single man looking for somebody to go out with, your conversation is going to tell me if you're just going to be somebody I try to bed buddy with, or if somebody I'm going to pursue. Because I do like how you look, but how far
Mhm.
it goes from here is going to come, you know, be determined by what comes out of your mouth.
Right.
So a lot of guys do that, and I tell people, you know, I tell women, just speak less,
Mhm.
say less, and don't provide too much information about anything pertaining to yourself. And you're going to notice that if a guy is trying to do that, the most of the conversation he's going to be trying to pick you. Hey, well, you
Right.
know, what kind of food you like, what you like. You know, he wants to know everything about you. You have to build it up to where you have a preset questionnaire ready when you're in
Mhm.
that mode of dating. But majority of the time, they've done that before you approach, believe me, but trust me, before you approach, they've done the research. So you have to be very, very careful about that, because you'll wind up in those situations where they can't present the perfect package and you never realize it came from you.
I want to say, so we have my mom said, "What you lust, you wait. When you lust, you don't look in the book for instructions. You just go after him or her." And that is, I mean, and it's true. You don't think about it because your eyes is fixed on what you see. You're not looking at the overall. And then I see my
Right.
cousin out here as well. I remember having a conversation with my husband, and when I met him like 20 plus years ago, I was working at a bank and he was coming in. So I remember, I would see him coming in, and on Saturdays he would be his mom. Never crossed my mind to talk to this dude ever. But when we started dating and then we got married, and I asked him, I said, "What was it? A physical? Was it a?" He said, "Well, it's always physical for a man first. A man is going to look at you, and then after talking to you, he determines what category he's going to place you in." So he was like, "Once I
Exactly.
started talking to you, I knew that it was something to you. So going to sleep with you, I wanted a little bit more." And then our relationship started to progress. And then I found out, like, man, I ended up getting this dude and he done did a 180. But it just goes
Mm-hmm.
to show that as women and as men, sometimes we divulge too much information. And when we divulge too much information, we setting ourselves up to be played. So instead of us
Exactly.
learning from whatever happened previously, we feel that we're giving everything a little too soon. It's a comment. Okay, so here it is now, as women, who have been hurt, women who have been misused or played, and they still finding themselves same in a position as being a bed buddy. They are still in the same position of one that's meeting guys that don't stick around for long. Or there are men out here who keep meeting the wrong women and they keep playing them. How can we break this down for them that there's a level of understanding? Like, I believe that because a lot of us have not really had love, the first sign of what we think love is, we fall for it. So what can we do within our own self to know, baby, that's just somebody trying to sleep with you? No, they just want to pay a bill and come over every now and then. Oh, she just want, how can we get a wrap around it so we will stop being deceived?
Tell them no.
Period.
Tell them no. And this is what I mean. I tell them no. I don't mean just like no right out there. In certain particular conversations, you can kind of judge what a person's intent is when they're fishing for information. Like I say, don't give too much. Set hard no's, and you'll see a person that really has the intention of trying to pursue anything beyond that. They're going to do the work. They're going to do the work. If they're going to take the time, they're going to really trying to figure out a different angle of what works for you, or really must give you the reins of the situation to try to, gauge the speed, timing, and all that. They're going to wait.
Right.
They're going to wait willingly. But once you start seeing like, oh man, man, you always, man, when you said that, you start getting that, walk it off, because it's already telling you what it is. Anytime you have somebody that tries to rush you, and say love is patient.
Yeah.
Say love is patient. It's not gonna do that. Say love is kind of, like I say, it's right there. It's really right there. And because we haven't been, the problem is, sadly, and I say I pour everything on me because I use my life experiences to form, what I'm doing. But I've never, if I look back over my family, that's why like my family and my kids and the way I function as a father now is so critical to me, because of what I've seen. And I saw a lot of brokenness, and I saw a lot of, just trauma on top of trauma that was not handled, unregistered, unhandled pain, unaddressed pain. And that's how trauma is birthed. We have these pains and things that go on, and in our families and household, it was always, you don't talk about that, sweep that under the rug, that never happened, and you're forced to choke it down, and you don't have any room for anything else, because the Bible says, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Those three should be filled with love, and there's no room for it when you got it packed down with trauma and all that. And that's where everybody forget love. I'm tired of getting hurt. I'm tired of doing this, but there's no pause.
Yes. I want to kind of talk about something, and I'm going to talk about my own experience too. So being with someone, hey, Miss Georgianne, being with someone and knowing that this person is good for you, but you still find yourself in positions where you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing to this person. So you're with the right person. You know that this person is a godsend. You know that they are the answer to all of your prayers, but you are the person with the lust problem. So you're the one that when you meet people, you say, no, it's not you, it's me. You're the person that will cut things off. How do we deal with it if we are the person that is lusting, or we're the person that have the issue? Because it's not always everybody else.
Yeah, and I it's funny you said that. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier about, we reconnected recently, friend we got back in touch with recently, and it was a time, that time when I tell them I was terrible. I was absolutely terrible. And it took, and the reason I explained to her, the reason I was like that was because it's the same thing. I had given people my heart, and like I say, they abused it. And at that point, you just lock it up, and you cover it in stone, and you don't want anybody else to have access to that, to try to issue that type of pain. But what winds up happening is, it goes right back to what we said, that self-healing. When you have that, whenever you find yourself saying, it's not you, it's me, it's you, right. You're absolutely right. It is you. And it's you because you haven't taken the time to unpack that situation from before. So your soul, it says, love is your soul's recognition of itself in another. And when you start feeling that towards somebody, when you start trying to draw back, it goes right back to that guilt and shame. You don't feel like you're worthy of it. This person is too good to me. I don't deserve this. And it's that cycle,
Yeah.
it's that subconscious guilt and shame that's drawing you back because you feel
Mhm.
like I'm gonna crash this boat. You know, I already see it. This person is a good person, and that's what happens in that situation. It goes right back to self because we didn't
Mhm.
take the time out to try to figure out what do I need to do. Let me sit down and put these pieces back together one at a time and gather myself. You know, because
Mhm.
until you do that, you're going to keep that repetitive cycle going of repeating that same mistake. It's like a scratch record. That needle is never going to move.
That's true. That is true. I can say from dealing with lust that it was one of those where I I had different people for different reasons. So I had one person that may have paid bills. I had another person who had great sex. I had another person that took me to the best of restaurants. Another person that I traveled with. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that it was lust that I was dealing with until I started seeing the cycles of me and these different guys. Because they thinking I'm like 100, like in love with them, and I'm this farthest thing from my mind. And I found
Right.
myself using that statement, well, no, no, it's not you, it's me. And it really was me, but not realizing that I had a problem. And in the meantime of me having a problem, I'm leaving a trail of brokenness with men. I'm leaving a trail of playing games. I'm leaving a trail of manipulation. I'm leaving a trail of foolishness and BS and trying to work things and trying to tweak things for my own benefit. So as we start talking about lust, it's not just about that external aspect, but it's about the internal aspect, because what we are doing, not knowing it, is breaking someone else down because we're broken. So we don't realize the pain that we may have experienced. So one of the reasons where I said, well, I'll talk to multiple people is because my theory was I will never allow a person to hurt me like the hurt I've witnessed. I will never need a man. If I need a man, it's gonna be on my basis, on my terms, and you're gonna play my boat, play my rules.
All
Now,
right.
a real man to be deuces, or another man to be like, let's see where it goes. So we find ourselves in this tit for tat or this double dutch game where I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna jump out, and there's no healing, there's no restoration, and we're carrying all of this junk. And now we have kids who are seeing all of this junk, and now they're repeating the cycles too because it's not broken. So we have an image of what love should be, but because we're broken, we're settling for lust because lust feels better. Because see, love is gonna allow, I'm gonna have to look at myself if I say love. But if I look at have lust, I can just look at you and point the finger at you.
Right. Right. And like you saying, if until it's a serious conversation had, and this is it's almost sad because it's so rampant now that it's like, where do you grab it? You know, where do you start to try to undo it, because it's just like mutated. It's mutated so bad to, like, especially in this social media generation where everything is an app hookup and
Man, we need to talk about that
sneaky
too. Yeah,
links and and all of that,
yeah.
and it came down to the okay physical, and especially now so many back to broken women. You've been broken and done so wrong, and men, just like you just openly admitted to, where that is actually the case. I had a friend of mine tell me, man, was madly in love with the girl that he was dating,
Mm-hmm.
and but she was doing everything. She was hurting them, and
Yeah.
that would break a man. You have broken men that can be straightened out, but what
Mm-hmm.
happens when a broken man gets that repetitively? Then it becomes toxic. Now, saying
Right.
once you get a toxic man, it's like, I don't care nothing about a girl other than you know what you can do for me in the bed. Pretty primarily that, because from that point on, most guys are sufficient in everything else. But that was
Right.
actually part of the conversation I had with my friend earlier, also because I was toxic. I had gotten
Right.
to the point, she like, yeah, you thought you was like God, thought you was God gift to women and all that. I said it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that. It was just like I had been through so much, and that I drew a hard line in the sand. It was literally
Right.
just out to where I was like, look, all I could be to you is fun. Now you
Right.
can
Come
you
on
can
now.
we can roll around a little bit of something, but other than that, I have no use for you. And she was like, oh yeah, you was angry. And that was it. I was bitter. I was bitter from being hurt because it was hard to understand how you can give you. That's what gets you. That's where the brokenness comes in, because love is so pure, and you're trying to give it in all intentions, and you like, why would you do that to me? You know, why would you
Right.
break something like that? And when it
Right.
happens, it takes something like God's love. Like God's love is infinite. You know, that's
Mm-hmm.
infinite. And we're trying to process something of infinite being broken with a finite mind. You know, you can't process
You can
it.
confess
You
it.
you can never put a finger on it. That's why
Mhm.
it's so hard to understand. And you be wanting that closure, but you will never
Right.
receive it from the flesh. You got to get it from God, because I learned you're not gonna get it from that person. You're not gonna get it from no self-help book. You're not going to get it from
Yeah.
any of that. It has to come from God. And that's why we can never place a logical explanation or receive any type of comforting feeling as to why you can never grab it. You can never
Right.
grab it. So you're constantly spinning in that loop.
Right. 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 One thing you said, and I want to double back on something about social media, but when I saw when I was able to see certain things with myself, that was the first thing I did. It wasn't no, I'm gonna stand up at this altar and turn around 7 times and be free. I'm gonna put their name down and I'm gonna burn it. It was literally
Right.
like, God, I need your help. I am at a place of where I am, and I don't know which way to go. I don't know which way to turn. How do I get from being hurt and then hurting others? How do I get to a point that I can grow from this and have a happy, healthy relationship in a life without trying to operate in something that is manipulating or taking or giving? But with our social media has become so sexual. Like back in the day when we were growing up, you know, if you went out to a paper stand, they had the nuded magazines was covered at the bottom and you couldn't touch them.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you know, so even with porn, you know, even like I remember like on TV and Spectrum, those type
Oh,
of
wow.
movies did not come on to after a certain time at night, where now everything
Absolutely.
is sex. Sex is on your phone, sex is on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on Twitter, sex is at your grocery store, sex is in every aspect of our life. So if you are dealing with lust, you in lust heaven right now. Let's be
Right.
real about it, because it's
Exactly.
everything that you want. But a person that's fighting that is catching a lot of hecahula because I'm trying to reject it, but it's in my face. And when I was saying how the lust is, so if you, let's be honest, okay, we real tonight. Hey, I said, okay, Joy Sensei said, so if you a person and you deal, your problem is with porn, and you know that you stay away from certain porn sites, then you okay if you don't do that. However, if every time you turn on your radio, you listening to something about dropping it hot, or you turn on your TV and they got this lady with her butt out, or or a man showing his print, then you are suspected to this thing. So in a society now where lust is preferred more than sex, and that's kind of like how I brought up the conversation when my husband and I was out and looking at all of it. Was I'm not gonna say where I was, but it was a group of women, and it had to be about 8 of them. Not one of them had a guy with them, and all of them had their kids with them, and all of them
Mm.
came in there revealing something tight, something this, and something that. So I looked at my husband and I was like, what do you, that's why I was like, it's a type of woman you marry and it's the type of woman you sleep with. And he was like, you see these women in this way all the time, but then they don't understand that the way that they're putting themselves out there is the reason why they keep getting the same thing that they're getting. So a lot of times we're not conscious of the vibe that we're providing. We're not conscious that, you know, the way that I'm conversating or the way that I act or conduct myself is really attracting something that I really don't want. But this whole thing with social media, I mean, relationships, marriages, homes, work environments, all have been broken up. Think about the sexual harassment now. The policies on jobs have changed from you talking to them. Now it's pictures. Like if you got pictures of somebody or you have certain things. So it just shows you that our world is not leaning towards love anymore. It's leaning toward the flesh and making the flesh happy. And then you got people like, man, I'm trying to get better, but I got this stuff that I got to fight against.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the most overwhelming part of it. Like say, how do you escape it? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like a scab that's constantly getting picked at. How do you heal it? How do you escape it when it's so fluent everywhere?
Yeah.
And what your husband said about what your husband said about the dress code is exactly correct. You
Mhm.
know, and it's like I said that all the time. When you have to be, it's one thing for women that understand it's there's a sexy, and then there's a little out of bounds there. You shouldn't have to do that, and that's what I was explaining about teaching the non-sexual value. Because the reason that the majority of the women that I see that dress like that have to be revealing to that degree is because that's what they've been taught is what men like and how men want you
Mhm.
to show yourself. I said that's why I haven't seen so much of young women that's getting Brazilian butt lifts and getting all of this body work and
Mhm.
actual surgeries done for vanity. And I said
Mhm.
to attract the attention of somebody who's gonna, after you go through all of that, and it's usually the case, you're gonna go through all that and you're gonna do all that. Yes, fine, something new to play with for a little while, but guess what? The next one that comes past is that's a little different than yours or better than yours. Guess what's gonna happen? It says
That's right.
it's a never-ending cycle. The way you present yourself is going to determine the type of person that you draw. Because it's like I've met women. I tell you, I always went for people who dress more discreet. You have to dress
Mhm.
discreet. It's a way to be sexy yet classy. You
There
don't
you
have
go.
to. You don't have to be revealing all your goods because
Mhm.
my thing is this: you present situations, and women don't realize this as men. It's one thing to have somebody, if I find you attractive, somebody else is going to find you attractive. But
That's
men
it.
have a level of ignorance that will transcend that because you can have women, some women do it too, where you can have
Yeah, they do.
somebody that takes a look and then looks away and like, oh, you look nice. But then you got the ones that basically,
Stare.
just sexy with their eyes and they just go overboard with it. And in a situation like that, if I'm out with you and you're dressed like this, now this guy is doing this to the point to where you're uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable. Said, now you're forcing a situation that I have to address. So because it gets to that point with a man, and I said, it's just how that works. That's how it's designed. The Bible said, when there's no reasoning with a man. When it comes
Mhm.
down to his wife in those situations. So you have to be very careful about who you allow to,
Mhm.
who you allow to form that thought process for you because it's so everything now. Like I said, you can't turn most of the profile pictures that you see on any of these social media websites are going to
Mhm.
be something revealing. Somebody trying to show something off on their body. They got somebody
Mhm.
part in there. They're doing something like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, you're going to get all the likes, all the attention. You sure are. But guess who from? There's a good, like I
Right.
said, I always tell my daughter, I said, sweetheart, there's a good attention and there's a bad attention. And I'm gonna explain the difference. So once you learn those two, you get a basic scale of how to align yourself from that point.
Right. 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 You said something that was key. I remember, and this has happened like a lot. My husband and I were together, and this was a couple of weeks ago. And I'm one of those sexy, classy type of people. So we went to the movies, and you know how to go to the bathroom after the movie and you're coming out. And this man actually made eye contact with me, but he's standing next to my husband. So I'm walking out, and the man is literally just staring. And then my husband is crazy. So he was like, "She look good, don't she, man?" It's like, "Man, she's fine. There's something about her. She's just different." He was like, "Yeah, that's my wife." So they both laughed it out, and he was like, "Man, you blessed," and they walked it off. But it was good for another man to recognize that, but not only about the attraction, but it's something that's different about her. And I believe that we're so busy trying to fit into what society says sexy is that we're not becoming who we are in that and allowing who we supposed to have to attract them. Like if you got to go outside, and I call it your bare assets, and you have to show your bare assets, then it is something wrong with this picture. We have to go back to the drawing board and kind of pick up the pieces.
Right. Right.
And this is just one of those things. But when it comes down to lust and love, we talked about a lot on this show about what lust is. So just think about love as he talked about. Love is patient, it is kind, it's long suffering. Love is giving, love is understanding, love is compromise. So if you're finding yourself in a position and you like everything that they have talked about is what I am going through, then you need to really start evaluating the situation, because I don't want to see another one of my brothers or my sisters broken or hurt because you're in something and you're mistaking it for something that it is not. And now we're seeing more and more of people in domestic violence situations, people getting shot. I shared on the other day about a young lady in a situation where her baby father and he double dipping. So we starting to see a lot of these things grow. I don't want to see nobody being a statistic because our mindset is one way and we're receiving something else from somebody else.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that being said, go ahead, bro.
No, go ahead. I was just thinking about what you said. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you have any like closing remarks? We could go ahead and end it. We pretty much got everything said, unless there's some things you wanted to share about it.
No, that's right on time. I didn't bring my charger, and this phone is about to die. So
Look, I'm trying to keep things within the hour. We say what we're going to say and we go to it, you know. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is my big brother, Nathaniel Knox Sr. You'll see him posting a lot of things on the page. A very well-rounded young man, and he's going to tell you the truth. So I really appreciate you, bro, for coming on and giving me an hour of your time, because I know you're busy. And everyone, thank you for tuning in to Love, Lust, and Lies tonight. Another grown folks conversation. If you have any other questions, you can send us a message and we'll respond back to you. Check out the show tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. on TLETV.fun on TLE Network for Real Talk with Terlisa TV show, guys. I'll be back on later this week when I have another topic that I got to deal with. They coming, bro. They coming. Pray for me. Pray for me, because I have to use wisdom when we're talking. Like, seriously, it's some stuff coming at me. Like, I'm like, oh God, but it's real talk, so I got to talk about it. But thanking God for the opportunity. So everybody have a great night. We love you. God bless, and we will talk to you guys later.
all right.
All right.